Okay, here's what we're going to do for our clay leaf bowl. You need to start out with a piece of clay, and you're going to use a rolling pin. And you can either use your little mini rolling pin, and you can roll your hands over the top of it like this, push down, and roll it. You can use the handles to roll it too. You can flip it over and roll the other side a little at a time. If there's a big roller, you can use the big roller to roll it, flatten it out a little bit. Keep flipping it so you roll it out kind of even. Then you have a leaf, okay? And you want to feel one side of the leaf, the veins really stick out and they're a little bit more bumpy. And the other side, the veins are kind of in with the leaf. They're not sticking out so much. We want to push into our clay the side that has the bumpy veins. So the bumpy veins, okay, they're right here. I can feel them. I'm going to flip that over onto my clay, and I'm going to just kind of gently press that leaf onto the clay. Now, I'm going to take either a needle tool. It's a tool that has something at the end that looks like a needle. That's why we call it a needle tool. Or this is called a fettling knife. And fettling is another word for cutting around and manipulating things. So this is a fettling knife. Either one you can use. Now I'm going to trace around my leaf. And notice I'm kind of pulling it out towards the edge. If I try and push the clay all over the place, it's a little bit harder to push all that clay all the way around. So if you just, and you can take pieces off as you go, but you can kind of go in little pieces. And you don't have to do all of the details, but you want to get the general curves. And you can go wider than your actual leaf a little bit to make it a little bit bigger, but we want to get the general shape. Now, when you get to the stem, okay, what you don't want is for it to be super, super skinny, especially right here, because it's just going to break off. So when you go around your stem, you need to make that really pretty wide, a lot wider. We know it's not very realistic, but we need it to be wider. So once you're done cutting everything out, you can take off your pieces. Be careful around that stem, okay? It's really, this is a breaking point right there. So we can wad up our extra clay because that can be used for somebody else later on. Now I'm going to gently peel up the leaf, and you can see that there's an impression in there. Now what we can do is we can take our fingers just gently and kind of pinch the edges so that they're smooth. If I am really careful and I pick this up, you can see that the edges are just chopped straight down. We want to just pinch the edges so that the edges are thin. I'm just squeezing just the very edge and pinching that together instead of having it just be blunt like that. And any of these pieces right here, they're going to be hard later on, so we want to pick those off. It's soft now because the clay is soft, but once it gets fired in the kiln, which is like a big, huge oven, it's not going to be soft anymore. It's going to be really, really hard. So you can just take some time to smooth out all those edges. Again, be really careful about that stem. Mine's even a little bit extra wiggly. So we go around and smooth out all of these edges. I find that my thumb works really good just to smooth out any of those little pieces of clay that are hanging out there. So once you get this all smoothed out, okay, if you want your edges to stay thicker instead of thin like this side, then you can just smooth out the top edges, okay, with your fingers instead of squishing them down. Now the last thing, we're going to be really gentle, and you can either drape your leaf inside of your bowl Or very carefully bend the edges around this bowl. It's not going to stand here forever. It's just a little bit of a mold for it to drape over. Now, look at these. These are just surface cracks. You can either take your finger and smooth them out, or you can take a rib tool or a paddle and very gently just smooth out some of those surface cracks. Surface cracks might turn into big cracks later on, so take the time to smooth it out. Then, when you are all finished, take and write your initials.